Happy Friday to each and everyone. As this video is injury updates, as some huge news coming out from Italy, in England as well. You understand? We expect Leon Chippy Bailey to be back on the pitch, not just a normal game, but it is a very interesting one at home versus Inter Milan. I'm going to talk about that as well. And look, Deshan Bernard, a little bit of update. Like every time when an international break, and there's always some little news about Deshan Bernard, how his injury, his progress, the rehabilitation process is going as well. I'm going to, give a little bit of update on that as well. And Demarai Gray seems like he's perfectly fine, ready to face Hull City on the weekend as well. And, look, Big Bowser team will play later today. I think what Club T wanna play probably later today as well. So I'm going to discuss the boys that little bit of injury update. But look, the boys are already returned, back to their club, and it's a massive weekend of football coming up. Meanwhile, some players, the whole issue with the UK players have been like jet lag, been taking their time easing back into the starting 11. We know we have a few players that get reinstated right into the starting 11. Not a lot, but there's just a few players as well that are very important to their club team. So right after the back of the international break, they get reinstated back into the team. I can tell you as well, like, Tyrese Campbell is a player that when he went back, after the September window, he continued to play like average around 70 plus minutes, in the next 5 championship games leading up to the October window. So you see that he's a regular player for his club team. And I can name out a few. Greg Lay, 6 minutes right after the back of the September window. Richard King played 48 minutes right after the back of the September window. Dexter 0 minutes. Palmer 0 minutes. He benched that game. John Russell played 22 minutes off the back of September window. And also Bailey Kadamatiri came on in the second half for Sheffield, played 45 plus minutes. Casey Palmer, not Casey Palmer, but Isaac Eden, came off the bench for QPR. And also Kara Anderson, someone that benched back-to-back games right after the September window. So you would have said that, just a few players that get reinstated back into the 11 or get it half of the 90 minutes that the team would have played. So yeah, you could see that Bailey and Casey, Bailey and Tyrese Campbell is a very important player for their club team as well. And the King got 48 minutes on the back of the September window. Was a little bit of an injury process. I think it was a little bit of injury with St. Mirren, so he got into the team. But the big one, Leon Bailey expect to be back for the Roma game. Yeah. Leon Bailey expect to be back for that big Inter Milan Roma game. You understand? Huge game in the Stadio Olimpico. Would have seen Roma got a beautiful start, in the season. Not so much, in Europe, but they look more comfortable in the Seria A more than in the Europa League. But Leon Bailey and Paolo Dybala, the two left-footed players, the two left-footed genius for Roma this season, that they're looking forward for these two players to have a big season if they're going to challenge and get back a place in European football, or not just European football, but also to give the Scudetto push, or to push as far as possible to get back in the Champions League, as it's always that spot that Roma always want to get in a Champions League spot. But nevertheless, happy to see Leon Bailey, getting closer and closer, to action, as they will say that over the last few days, he's doing group training, he's training with the players that they didn't, get called up for the national team. So he had a few training sessions, this week, where it's group training with the big group of players. So it seems like he's ready to go. Yeah, he's ready to go. And Gasparini been talking about Leon Bailey and how he wanted the player to be back, and he's happy that the player is his injury process, his rehabilitation process is going really smooth. So it's finally in the year that Leon Bailey expect to make a Seria A debut for AS Roma, and It will be under the light. I think it's like 7:45, 8 p.m. European time. So it's under the light, side of the Stadio Olimpico. So it's going to be a tough game. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think it's who's the coach? Remember who's the coach for Inter Milan? I think it's Kievu or Samuel. One of those ex-players. But yeah, huge game, man. Huge game. But it's delighted to see that Leon Bailey, will return back tomorrow. And you could imagine that. Look, Leon Bailey would have only played just around 150 minutes of World Cup qualify this season. Yes, I think the two games that Bailey played in, he came on in the away game versus BVI for Kaim Dixon, and he also played in the Guatemala game, missed a penalty, and also assist. I think that John Russell cross that John Russell latched on, and a Leon Bailey cross. So Leon Bailey have only played 2 games in the whole World Cup qualifier so far. So he wouldn't play in the Dominican Republic game, and also the Dominica game where Kaim Dixon, I think, is scoring that game where we won 3-2. We leading that game 3-0, and we just gave up 2 simple goals like that to the Dominica team. Almost got pegged back. But even talking about Leon Bailey the performance from Dujan Whisper Richards, at home versus Bermuda. A lot of people been talking about, hey, I want to know in the comment section, should Leon Bailey walk back in this starting 11? Yeah, should Leon Bailey walk back in this starting 11 for the national team? And Kaim Dixon is performing well. Tyrese Campbell, as much as his performance is not really right up there to the top where I'd love to be, but he put in a very good shift. And also, young Whisper show that, look, he's on a different level. So, Leon Bailey, look, the way all the youngsters them perform, when Leon Bailey, was a little bit younger back, right after the back of a COVID, that's how we wanted Leon Bailey to perform. Can Leon Bailey return back in action, over the weekend and get out? Probably, I think Leon Bailey might have. I'm not sure if he's fully fit, but if he can go a full 90, if they will really trust his body to go a full 90, which I think he might play around 30, 25 minutes in the game coming up tomorrow as well. You understand? I don't think they will rush him. They will take their time, ease him into, the game. And, it's a process. They will have a lot of game. And then right after that, there will be a midweek fixtures, a Europa League game for AS Roma. So happy to have back Leon Bailey. But, we are having one of the best World Cup qualifier period since 1998, where it is so close. Yeah, it is so close. And Leon Chippy Bailey, a player who is playing at the highest level for the reggaeboy team, is not being around that journey. You could imagine that even if we go on to play, Curacao and Trinidad and Tobago in the November window, Leon Bailey probably wouldn't start a game. You understand? I will qualify for the World Cup. You would have never imagined that Leon Bailey just played 2 minutes, just around 150 minutes combined, with the 2 games. So that is it, man. Glad to see that Leon Bailey, will return back in action for AS Roma for that big game tomorrow. You understand? I'll be locked in. I will be locked in. I think that game will start around 1:30, 1:45 Jamaica time. Look, Deshan Bernard, a little bit of update on Deshan Bernard, and this is what Pedersen, the Sheffield Wednesday coach, had to say around Deshan Bernard. A little bit of an injury update on Deshan Bernard. After back of an international break, we always get some update on what is going on, how the rehabilitation process is going on with Deshan, and this is what the coach said about Deshan Bernard in the press conference of the build-up for the Charlton game yesterday.
How far away is Deshan Bernard from being back in the? In terms of being close to being back, maybe? Is he far away?
It's going really good. There's still some small challenge he has before he can make the next step, and here we wait for a new conversation with the doctor. I think it's next week, and then after next week we will know more how quick we can progress him or what we have to do with him. But I still think is middle of December before we really will see him on the pitch in a full power.
You know, and look, it's going to be a long road. It's going to be a long road. So, I mean, speedy recovery, Big Dish. You know, I know you'd love to be, you know, amongst the boys, you know, to help your country get over the line. But nevertheless, they got you, my bro. They got you. It's all about get back on the grass. And I guess when you get back on the grass for, you know, for Sheffield Wednesday around the festive time, you know, just take your time, ease back in, and, you know, get back to full fitness and get back to your best. You know, you can help your, you know, your beloved Sheffield Wednesday and to fight that relegation scrap and to get back fit. So guess what? You can fight for your World Cup spot because we will be there, my bro. Yeah, the boys got you. They will fight. They will put in every ounce of sweat, blood, tears, and help the nation get over the line for that big tournament coming up next year in the summer. US, Canada, Mexico, we coming. And I've heard a story of people talking about, like, look, who is going to get their US visa? Who is going to get their documents ready? Because when the boys qualify, they want to be there. It's going to be a historic moment because it's much closer to home. It is much closer to home. It's not like it was in Paris, was in France, in Lyon, Marseille, all those big cities in France the last time, you know, literally nearly 3 decades ago. But this time, the people that local in Jamaica who have them visa can travel. And you know, if we get game in Mexico, you can travel to Mexico visa free for Jamaica. And also the people living in the diaspora in Canada and Mexico, we will get a chance to see our beloved Reggae Boy team. So, you know, come on, man. Hope we can make it. Hope we can make it, as you know, the football gods is on our side from the get-go. So it no matter what we do, we might buckle to it, but guess what? The super boy again, people. You understand? But we have seen a player, you know, left camp, you know, in the recent window. Demarai Gray, you know, his coach gave a little bit of update on Demarai Gray, and this is what Chris Davis has to say around Demarai Gray being back in action, in contention to play versus Hull City on the weekend.
Yeah, so Demarai's fine. He was a more precautionary issue that he had, so he's absolutely fine.
So I just hope the people that bring our spread the narrative of, even though it was more of a precaution, you know, I'm glad that, you know, Demarai Gray pulled up, because look, we have enough players, you know, we should have enough quality at that time to beat a Bermuda team without a Demarai Gray. So a Demarai Gray wouldn't really needed necessary to beat a Bermuda team. So, and yes, would have loved to have him, you know, in the Curacao game as well, but it's happened already. But glad that the player, you know, took that precaution and pulled out, because look, if he probably would have gone and take a injection and some pill and go on that AstroTurf, probably would have damaged him foot more. You understand? And that would have probably leave him to probably need a surgery, tear some muscle or anything. That would have probably leave him to have to get a surgery, and it would have Demarai season could have been curtained for the rest of the year. You understand? So you know these things go. So I just hope that the people must spread a narrative are any local stigma around local versus diaspora player off. Demarai Gray pulled out because he's not commit. He didn't really say he didn't commit. He commit. You understand? But he just precaution just to help the player from not, you know, to spend a longer time on the touchline of treating an injury. So people, that's all I have to say. But the big news, Demarai Gray, you know, returned back to action, and also Leon Chippy Bailey. Yeah, Leon Chippy Bailey will be wearing that AS Roma jersey coming up on the weekend as well. Massive game. Massive game. I'm so happy that Leon Bailey will return back to action. And also, let's see what the LB31 will offer to the Roma fans. But people, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hype up the video. Please, hype up the video. You understand? Salute. Bless up to the people. I'm out. Catch you guys later again talking about more Reggae Boy football. Ciao.